And you're listening to Our Community. Susie Thomas here with Anthony Burwell from Emerge Counseling Services, which, as you said earlier, is Emerge Ministries,
Yes.
and really helping folks emerge from where they are to really where God wants them to be, correct?
Absolutely. Yes.
In the area of mental health. Now, I thought you said something that was very interesting. In the past, you've been the ambulance at the end of a cliff when someone falls off. But what if you could become a fence there to help someone from going over the cliff in the first place?
Yes.
How do you move from being a maintenance kind of a ministry to a preventative care kind of ministry?
Well, we do so. I'm so happy that you phrased the question that way. John Palmer, who is our president and has been, he and his wife Debbie, he was a pastor. They planted multiple churches, pastor for over 30 years, came and took over as president of Emerge. And among the first things that he wanted to do was to make sure that Emerge is being involved in the community. So we need to be recognized as a place to go, and the only way to do that is to offer services that we can do to create partnerships. So we've done things. We have extension sites in Stowe and in Bowling Green and in Cincinnati and in Aurora, where we have a clinician on site that is available for clinical care, including grief care. So through that prism is the idea of, as we're seeing more and more people come in, let's create opportunities for us to go and to share more information. And let's utilize the expertise of our clinicians beyond just what they can do inside of an office and put them in a space where they can share in a greater way. One of the avenues that we do that is through what's called a marriage tune-up. If you think about your vehicle, your car, you wouldn't go very long without getting some type of work done to your car. Otherwise, your car is going to be talking back to you and telling you, this is breaking down, this is breaking down. And if you go too long, eventually it will just cut off and it will not work at all. Well, marriage isn't too different than that. If you leave it, if you don't work at it, if you don't, have regular maintenance of that, preventive things that you can do ahead of time through communication, through understanding one another in terms of how you talk, being on the same page, getting issues out on the table.
How about dating? How about dating your spouse?
How about dating your spouse? So, these are things that when we started, we saw our loved ones across, a crowded room or in a library or wherever it happened to have been. You thought through those things and you felt like you needed those things. But 5 years later, 10 years later, 20 years later, 30 years later, you find yourself in different places in life and maybe you're not looking at each other the same and so forth. And so we want to encourage people to have tune-ups, to come out and meet with a clinician, have a clinician meet with you one-on-one, and let's take you through some steps. We're talking a few hours, a couple different sessions over 2 or 3 days to do that, and that is meant to be preventative because we certainly see marriages that are either at the brink of destruction and divorce, or perhaps have crossed over that line, or at the brink of adultery, or have passed over those lines, and sometimes those are things that can't be recovered. You can't recover from those things. But if we can give married couples the tools to really develop and reinvest in one another, their families are going to be blessed. The Lord will be blessed because we're doing our part to ensure that husband and wives are carrying on with one another as God has intended. So that is one example, one program, one service, if you will, that we do that is really from a preventative perspective.
Before we move on to more services, right, Christians have done a terrible job of setting themselves apart from the world to make marriage look different.
Right.
As far as divorce statistics, they're not that different from believers, unbelievers, pretty much the same.
Absolutely.
What can be done? What should the church be doing to be able to give? What are some of these tools that we can maybe give a few hints to people as far as things that they can do in their own churches, in their own Bible studies and so forth, to be encouraging one another to build up their marriages, to build up their homes?
Great question, and we could go on for time and time talking about it, but let me offer a couple of things that I've noticed. The Bible teaches us both the things that we should do and the things that we should not do, the things that are meant to tempt us and the things that are meant really to destroy us. We see countless examples of that throughout the text that if we take heed to them, we can put ourselves in better position by following those tenets. The problem is the things that we're being asked to do aren't really, to use a phrase, sexy. They're not, they don't capture the imagination. And the things that we choose to focus on and become divisive about, if you look at sin across the board, we categorize in terms of our actions and reactions, sinful nature. And so the sinful nature that you, my brother, are committing is the one that I'm going to focus on. The sinful nature that I am committing, my sister, is not one that you have any business with. And so if it's, we don't look at jealousy the same way as we look at adultery, and yet there is no distinction.
Yes.
And there are no big sins and little sins in the Bible. We don't look at gossiping, the same way we look at murder, but there is no distinction in the Bible. And so it is often, when you think about these close-knit relationships that marriage is meant to be, the twisting of the cord between, man and woman and God, if you are talking badly about your spouse, you're committing sin, even if you're not out, being an adulterer. If you are looking jealously about what your spouse is doing, even if you're not thinking of doing ill will to him or her, you are still causing discord within this relationship. And so what we encourage is to open the floodgates to these things. What the church can do is to ensure that marriage is held up to the pedestal in which it was intended. It is intended to bring us closer to God. It's intended to bring us closer to one another. And if we hold it in that light with that reverence and focus on that and champion those who are married and those who are engaging in positive, healthy relationships, then we will be doing a better service. Now, I want to be clear. This is not to the detriment of those who are single. It's not to the detriment to those who have yet to find their mate or who may have come out of a poor relationship. We're not forcing anyone into, church is not speed dating, despite what some people may engage in. But the value of the family starts with the connection between the husband and the wife. And if you want to have a healthy family, you want to see healthy families, my wife is a school teacher. You can see right through the child into that household based on their behavior and outcomes. And that often starts with the relationship, that close bond and relationship. So we like to see that change and support churches and pastors and missionaries and leaders in that area, because our clinicians are trained to look at that and to give you tools to be better at it.
And the people with such a tough assignment are the pastors.
Yes.
Because there they are trying to hold everybody together, but they also have their own homes and their own marriages.
Correct.
And you specifically minister to pastors and missionaries and
We
those
do.
with this tough assignment.
We do, because I was speaking with our vice president, Don Litchie, recently, who has been a clinician for over 32 years himself. And he talked about just how it is that we go about sharing what it is that we share with pastors and how we reach them. If you can reach a pastor and you can keep him or her on a level playing field, keep them healthy, they are reaching hundreds of people, sometimes thousands of people. And so we're that fulcrum to reach out to them. If we can keep our leadership, the Bible teaches us that we are to pray for our leaders. There's a reason for that, because sometimes we only have so much time, so much energy, so much inclination in order to make our prayers as powerful as they can be, as informed as they can be. If we start with leadership and we keep them prayed up and we keep them healthy, then we want to reach people that we may never actually meet, because they will be the ones who are out about and people are bringing their problems to them. So, and then missionaries are a whole nother group, because they are traveling into the field. They are removing themselves from comfort and going intentionally into the fire, if you will, into uncomfortable situations. And so we've seen, there was a family that came back to us that got in contact from us from Africa, who had been in the field for almost 6 years. When he reached us, the wife said the husband was in the fetal position and he couldn't move anymore. He had entered such a state of depression, and so they reached out to us and said, well, what can we do? How can we get help? And again, we brought them back to America, and they spent I want to say 6 weeks with us, just decompressing. It's not unlike, you almost have to think of missionaries as spies, and I don't want to give them a negative connotation, but they have to transform and conform to a community in order for people to hear them and for them to be able to infiltrate and be able to share the gospel. And you can lose yourself in having to do that, and sometimes even lose your purpose in having to do that when you immerse yourself in someone else's culture and someone else's issues and someone else's problems. Pastors are no different. They immerse themselves in that, and oftentimes it comes at the detriment of their own families. That can't happen. Too many people are leaving the field, leaving the pastorate, leaving ministry because of that failing, and we want to be a resource for them to be able to come back and be on healthy ground.
Oh, this is good work you are doing. We don't want to miss out on letting people know about a big event coming up, Taste of Emerge.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Well, we want to give people a taste of what it is that we do, much like we've done here. And so a Taste of Emerge will take place on Monday, October 12th from 6 to 8 p.m. at our main headquarters at 900 Mole Avenue in our Learning Center, which is something that's been built that's available to the community to rent. We're expecting about 200 guests. Registration opened just recently, and so you can go online at emerge.org and find Taste of Emerge. Register for the event. I'm happy to say there is no cost for the event. We want to provide this to anyone who would like to come. We ask for donations, and that can come in a variety of different sources and opportunities, including through our live and silent auctions that we're going to have that evening. So that Taste of Emerge, you'll have a chance to meet some of our clinicians, see what it is that people come in. If you have a fear or hesitancy or any questions about what it looks like, literally looks like to come in for a treatment for counseling, come and see us on that night. It's a great opportunity. The proceeds from this benefit will go towards our Emerging Hope campaign, a capacity building campaign where we're raising almost over $2.37 million to further the ministry. It's broken up in in several specific categories, but each one of those categories is intended for us to do more ministry, see more people, and advance the cause, create an endowment. So Emerge goes on forever and ever. There'll be free food and hors d'oeuvres and just a great time of fellowship. We'd love to have you.
That date, time, and location again, please.
Monday, October 12th, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., 900 Mole Avenue. That's Emerge headquarters. You're all invited, but there is a limit. So please, please do register online, and we look forward to seeing you there.
We don't have much time at all. Like in the last 30 seconds, tell us, you're new to Emerge.
Yes.
How are you liking your job so far?
I am loving my job. It is wonderful to be able to do ministry on a daily basis in whatever way that I can support. I talk to clinicians every day, hear their stories, hear their struggles, hear their successes, pray with them, pray for them. It is truly a blessing to be in this position.
Anthony Burwell from Emerge Counseling Services, thank you so much. I hope you come back.
I will, Susie. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining us. Tomorrow we're going to be speaking with Max Barton from the Canton Museum of Art. You've been listening to Our Community. Thank you so much for joining us.